Hi everybody, and welcome to another piano video here on the Merriam Pianos YouTube channel. My name is Stu Harrison, and in today's video we're going to be exploring the Garritan Yamaha CFX plugin. This is a sample library of a really beautifully sampled 9-foot piano. They've done it at the Abbey Road studios over in England for our listening pleasure and benefit. Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional music creator, this is one that you may want to have in your library. So we're going to be talking about the setup of the plugin itself, the type of sampling they've done, how you manipulate the plugin with the interface, and of course talking about who this might be best suited for. If it's the first time that you have found us here on YouTube, we would love if you were to subscribe and hit that notification bell, either now or maybe at the end of the video. Either one, but certainly we would love to see you back for future videos. So without further ado, let's get started with this deep dive on the Garritan CFX right away. After a while, you hear about another piano plugin coming out. You prime yourself to not be that surprised by what you hear. After a while, and it always feels like this, that, okay, well, the technology can only go so far, and what is a new producer or what's a new plugin house going to bring to the table that's not already there. And I'll admit that that's kind of how I went into this Garritan thing. Heard a lot of positive reviews online, so I knew that there was certainly a camp of people that enjoyed it. But I'm also quite familiar with, for example, the Ravenscroft 275, Keyscapes, Piano Tech 7. I'm like, is this just another thing, another more or less same product packaged up in a different way? And after playing this for a while, not really. They really have managed to capture a different character of piano, and the way in which you manipulate and use that piano tone within the plugin, I think is maybe not totally unique, but not as common, and I liked it. It's not that I went in wanting to not like it, but I was pretty neutral. The excitement wasn't necessarily there. This plugin, by the way, has not been given to us. We've paid for it. Nobody's asked us to do this review. It's not solicited. No manufacturer has had any input or review of anything at all to do with this review. So for those who might have been wondering, this is just us, and there are no other kind of external forces influencing what we're talking about today. Before we go any further, let's just take a couple of minutes and hear it. As you can see, we are using this inside Logic, and the channel strip is totally empty except for the plugin, and there's nothing on the stereo either. We're recording this in 48 kilohertz. We're recording this at a 256 kilobit data rate. And so that's what you're going to be hearing, is just the unaffected tone. And we have this on the default, and we are using full. I'll talk about what the full and the compact mean, but right now that's all you need to know, is we're on default, classic, full. Here it is. Yeah. So what is it that we are hearing? Well, they've sampled a Yamaha CFX 9-foot. This is Yamaha's premier 9-foot piano right now. It replaced the CFS3, and I think pretty easy to argue it was the response to the Shigeru Kawai Concert Series 2 that came out, predated it by a few years, and really became known as Japan's top instrument. And not sure Yamaha was too comfortable with that. So this was the answer. I've played several 9-foot, I think 3 at this point. I have physically been in front of the CFX, one at NAMM, one in New York, and then one at a university. And they are nice instruments. They're impressive pianos. They're definitely a lot more complex tonally than you're used to getting out of other Yamaha Grands. They still trend towards a bit of a brighter sound. But nonetheless, super satisfying to play if you ever get a chance to touch one in real life. They have recorded this at Abbey Road Studios. And so just like Cinepiano, where you've got the piano, but then the room is almost acting as a second instrument, because they were doing that in the MGM sound stages down in LA. This one over in England is nicely capturing the character of that room. They've done a few things a little differently with this plugin. For one, the samples are gigantic. The quality and quantity of sample layers that are happening here with the plugin is pretty incredible. At any given time, you are dealing with 1.5 gigs to 2 gigs worth of samples that are loaded into here. So we're talking about multiple sample layers. And sample rate at 48 kilohertz. It's pretty gigantic what they have brought in to the plugin. So the instrument has been captured in all of the different sample sets with 2 sets of microphones. You've got close miking, and then you've got ambient miking, which really just, it's further away room miking. And it's kind of cool that they've actually let you know what the microphones they have used here. So this, TLM50 and the 406 and the M49, KM184. These are all very famous microphones that are favorites of recording engineers who often capture pianos. And so they're telling you what it is. And so one of the easy ways to tell that you've switched sample sets is you see those microphone selections actually change. Yeah, so for example, on something like this crystal preset, you can see now a completely different mic set that they have used. So depending on the character that they're going for with any one preset, they've actually changed the microphone. That's pretty unusual. Most presets, or I should say most sample libraries, aren't switching out the microphones depending on what they're going for. It's really mostly post-processing that's occurring on the core sample that's captured with one set of microphones. Yeah, so you can see that the presets are organized into three categories. Classic, which is great for solo piano. Contemporary, which is really good if you're burying a piano in a mix. They're narrower sounds. There's not such a huge range of harmonics, so it's a little easier to mix with some of these. And then player, which is a whole other set of samples that have been taken from the player's perspective. So it really dramatically changes the concept of the tone. You might wind up using that player set of samples if you are using this in a studio and a player themselves really wants the sense that they're behind a piano instead of listening to the recorded sound of a piano, which is the typical. So you get that it's more of a stronger psychological effect that you really are in front of the instrument playing it, because the mic placement is different, and they've even used different miking to achieve that. So default player is going to change the mics. You can see the mics have now changed. Mic perspective player, so you know what's going on here. Now, outside of the presets, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can choose to manipulate and start to play around with on your own. So this is the main window here, where you get some basic things like fine pitch tuning and octave shift if you need that sort of thing. Then you get into piano. This is an interesting concept, the room release decay and the room release sound. It's sort of similar to some of the manipulations you get on the Ravenscroft, but it's not quite. This is a very fascinating thing to play around with. I actually had a lot of fun with this, which is that they're recording, obviously they're blending the ambient sound with the close mic sound, but if you don't want any of that as soon as you let the key off, then what you're getting is room noise. You're getting this ambience that's completely contained to the release and decay that you'd normally associate with just close. So it's this unnatural, but at times maybe wanted, ability to have the full room sound when the note is sustaining, but a super precise cutoff, like it's totally dry, versus room release volume, room release crossfade. They all just are controlling different aspects of the same effect. So those are fun to play around with. And then you've got sustained resonance, sympathetic resonance. Again, just kind of changes and mixes in a different character of the piano if you want that there. Then some studio settings, and I really like how this is visualized as a real channel strip. So you've got, EQ that you can turn out on for, and you're supposed to know, of course, that these are stereo channel strips. So they don't give you the option to fade, or sorry, to pan those. But you do have stereo width control over there. So you can turn these EQs on and off and manipulate them. It's just got a standard sweepable mid. You've got the Convolution Reverb engine from Garritan that you can turn on. So now that means that you are simulating, albeit in a very accurate way, reverb versus the actual recorded reverb of the room. And then you've got the ability to here change the stereo image to audience or performer. Which is not the same as physically changing the location of those microphones. So just keep that in mind. It's not two toggles of the same setting. This is a different sample set entirely, whereas this is more of an acoustic or a sonic effect that's being applied. And then you get into advanced, where you can adjust the polyphony if your machine is coughing over these gigantic samples. And your RAM allocation and some different tuning options. So all in all, not only is this a crazy detailed sound, but the fact that they have used different microphones in different scenarios to pick this piano up in every conceivable way means you've just got, if you want the sound of that Yamaha CFX, this is about as wide and deep a capture of this piano that I could possibly imagine. I'm just going to let you listen to a few other presets that they've got here. This Bill Evans one, for example, is killer. And I did say I would explain exactly what this compact in full. This is a pared down, slightly less bulky version of the sample set in case you've got a machine, laptop maybe for portable use or whatever that just can't handle these 1.5 gig, 2 gig samples sizes. Well, the individual samples aren't that big, but in the cumulative size loaded in at one time, then you can strip this back and you get something that's a little closer to some of the other sample sizes from the libraries we've been checking out, like Noir, Alicia's Keys. These are all sort of in the 3, 4, 5, 600 meg range, not the 1.5 to 2 gig range. So it's a cool, highly versatile, very detailed piano, and there's a bunch that I like about it. I like that they've used different microphones in different settings to really nail the ideal capture for the tonalities that you're selecting with the presets. I like the fact that you've got a player-only perspective there that you can call up at any given time. The detail of the samples is just absolutely insane, and I love that they've captured the room as nicely and as well as they've captured the piano. So it's almost like you've combined Cinepiano and the Ravenscroft 275 in terms of concept in one. So if you like the CFX generally, I think you're going to love this plugin. I'm really looking forward to doing a comparison of the Ravenscroft 275 in this, because there's some parallels, there's a lot of parallels actually, but the character of the two pianos still remains quite different to my ear, which is exciting that there's these little differences and nuances. It's not all the same thing. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this look at Garritan CFX. If it is the first time to the channel, we would really appreciate if you hit that subscribe and the notification bell, because we'd love to see you back for more. My name is Stu Harrison. This has been Merriam Pianos on YouTube. We hope you have a great day.